Yes, welcome back to Home Studio Q&A for yet another week here on Studio Live. Today, this is our weekly show where I try to answer all of your questions about home recording, mobile recording, the gear, the mindset, and in fact, the mindset is important because we'll be talking about that in a moment. But if you do have questions and you're here live on Facebook or YouTube, there is a form that you can fill in. It is linked in the description and right here in the chat. Just fill in that form with your name and your question, and we'll get to as many of those as we can. But while we're getting those questions coming on in, I thought I'd chat about our feature topic, which is introversion. Okay. Now, this every time I talk about introverts and extroverts and what personality does in terms of your music production, I always get this one response. I'm neither. I'm an ambivert, or I don't think it matters, or I don't know what I am and I don't care. That's all good. They're all valid responses. Don't get me wrong. They're all valid responses. But sometimes understanding the own way we think and the own way we get energy can actually help us and can help with your music production and can help you with your recording. So we're talking introverts today. We'll probably talk extroverts next week. So what is an introvert? An introvert isn't a shy person. So that is the big misconception. I am an introvert, but people don't generally consider me shy. I can talk in social situations. I'm only slightly socially awkward most of the time. So it doesn't necessarily relate to shyness, but it does mean that you get your energy internally and you only have a limited amount of energy that you can utilize being out and being amongst other people. So if you're sitting there going, you know what, as much as I like being out and going to live gigs and whatever, when I get back from a live gig, I need to basically sit down and be in my own space for like 5 hours to recover. If that's you, then you may be on the introversion spectrum. And it is a spectrum. It's not black and white. It's somewhere in between. So what is it? What are the signs? So you're probably very hard on yourself. You're probably a perfectionist or close to it. You probably think more than you act. So you probably spend a lot of time thinking as opposed to talking. You know how you come across some folks who speak first and then think? You're probably thinking before you're actually acting. Quite a lot, to the point where you may be a procrastinator. Maybe you think so much you don't actually ever quite get to the acting part. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But yeah, it doesn't necessarily mean shyness. And here's the thing, it is not a bad thing. It is actually a very good thing. And it's not bad to be extrovert or introvert. It's about understanding the way that you actually work and therefore the way that you're going to get the best out of what you do. Because one thing that introverts have is patience. We have patience by the spades, and we have the ability to deep focus. You could call it obsession, but I call it deep focus. So a lot of folks who are deeply into a particular thing, home recording being one of them, are often introverts. And we often have the ability to just buckle down and get into that flow state and not be distracted by shiny things. So once you get into the zone, have you ever noticed this? If you sit down and you record and then you sort of look up and it's 5 hours later and you've just been recording and mixing for 5 hours and it feels like about 10 minutes, yeah, that may be a sign that perhaps you are a deep focused person and potentially closer to the introversion style. So what are some advice? Like what can you do with this? Well, the thing is, introverts are very good at listening, which again, generally, all generalizations here, folks. Introverts generally can listen, which means that you absorb, which means you learn things and can apply things pretty well. So that focus really helps you out as well. You do sometimes maybe have a problem with comfort zone and with other people's judgment and with thinking that strangers on the internet actually should be people you listen to, and that can be rough. So a lot of folks who have started sharing music and have tried to push out of their comfort zone have actually gone backwards. So because they've started to get feedback or they've started to get comments from other people that tend to bring them down, they go, right, well, I'm putting the shield back up now. I'm going back to my audio cave and I'm never going to share another song again. So that is one of the reasons I started this channel was to ensure, and the reason I say create, record, release is that a lot of folks, not just introverts, extroverts too, but a lot of folks will do the creating, they'll do the recording, but they won't do the releasing, which means the sharing of your music with other people. And sharing is so important. It's the way you grow, it's the way you improve, because you get feedback on what's working and what's not working within your music. So that's why I think it's so important to identify that. The advice, therefore, for someone who is sitting there and right now going, I want to share music, but I'm too nervous, is to join a community or share within a small trusted group. So the reason, again, I created the Create, Record, Release Facebook group is so that folks can actually join there. And what you'll see is if you join that group, again, I know this is shameless self-promotion, but if you join that group, you'll find a really good group of people, a mix of introvert and extrovert, a group of personality types. We're not all the same in the group, but the one thing you will find is that everyone is there to build you up, not to tear you down. And that is the big, important thing, because when it comes to getting the confidence to share, getting the confidence to put your music out there, whether you're introvert, extrovert, or ambivert, or whatever, it is really just about growing your confidence. And I'll talk about the comfort zone balloon a lot, which is that your comfort zone is like a balloon in that if you blow it up really fast with a whole lot of hot air, it's going to pop, and then you're going to go right back to here, yeah? You're going to end up with a little shriveled mess of balloon. The important thing about your comfort zone is to blow it up a little and then just let it settle, and then blow it up a little, let it settle, blow it up a little, let it settle. So if you are nervous, if you are self-conscious, if you worry about what strangers on the internet will think of your music, don't share it with them yet. But start sharing it with one person you really trust, then 3 people that you really trust, then a small group like the Create, Record, Release group, then maybe the larger group like the Garageband users group on Facebook, and then send it to me, I don't care. And then eventually you'll get to the point where you're able to just put yourself out there publicly, realizing that the random strangers on the internet don't actually matter, and their opinions are not important. The important opinions are people that are listening to your music and people that are into your sort of music and people that you trust in your circle. So there you go. That is my 5-minute rant on introversion, why it's cool, why you can hack your introversion powers and harness them. Because again, deep focus people, the reason that I can get up every day and do a video on this channel and not get distracted by all the shiny things is partly due to my my very, I won't use the word anal, but I just did, my very focused energy that I have, my slightly obsessive energy, because I can just get it done and I don't get distracted and move off to other things. This is episode 61 of this show. I've done it 61 weeks in a row. That's not what everyone can do. So again, hack into your introversion qualities and you'll go well. Righty, hello to everyone who is here live, by the way. We've got a lot of folks having a chat there. Ed Zelinsky says deep focus is my wife. I've been calling you for the last 5 minutes. Yeah, you can get yourself into a little bit of trouble sometimes if you're a little bit too deeply focused. But yeah, I like that. Guzzo says I'm an introvert until I have your attention, right? And yeah, Bubba don't tweet. Obvious introvert, right? And that's the other thing here. One moment. The other thing here is that people are not obvious. So a lot of people don't think that I'm an introvert, but because they're like, but you're talk on the internet and you do all these things. Yeah, I couldn't in the past, and it's not really my natural state. But I was, I used to say when I worked in the corporate world, I said I'm not an extrovert, but I play one at work. And now I would say I'm not an extrovert, but I play one on the internet. So sometimes people's actual personality and what they actually want to do and how they get their energy is different. And the one final thing I'll say on this is that if you are an introvert right now, and obviously a lot of folks are in situations where we're in lockdown, where we're unable to get out and do things. If you're an introvert and that's not worrying you too much, the way to empathize with this is consider the flip side. Imagine if the lockdown was actually a lockout, where you couldn't actually come back to your own home in your own safe space and have time to recharge and get energy back. That is what our extroverted friends are feeling right now. So if you ever need to have any of that empathy, think about a reverse lockdown where instead of not being able to leave your house, you're not able to return to your house. Think about how that would make you feel. Yeah, right? Already feeling a little bit tight? Yeah, so that's the way that I look at it whenever I think about my wife or other folks that are unable to do things that they want to do right now. And I'm just like, hey, it's all fine. Just go to your audio cave and record for 5 hours. And they're like, that's not how I roll, Pete. That's not how I roll. Alrighty. Cheers. Yeah, Jade says here, for those that are reading, I've always been an extrovert to the max when performing, but way from that very extrovert I thrived lockdown. Yeah, exactly. And you can that's the thing, you can change. A lot of people say personality is locked in, you can never change. No, you can absolutely change. You can alter over time, depending on what you're doing and depending on some things that go on and happen in your life. And again, because the confidence that you build up over time, because people think that introversion is shyness, they think that, oh, he's got over his introversion. It's like, no, you may be a shy introvert and you've got over the shyness component because you've built confidence through your expanding introvert balloon, but it's not necessarily that you've changed where you get your energy from. That's the misconception. Right, let's get in here and start talking some questions because we've got quite a few here already in the form. And if you have questions, get in there, ask your question using the form in the chat. Kyle, hello to you. Kyle says, hey Pete, have you ever tried open back headphones? I just got a pair and they're amazing. Really good question, Kyle. And the short answer is yes, but not for a long time. So if you're not familiar with the different types of headphones, the ones that I'm wearing here are called closed back headphones. Let's come over here to my gear guide, shall we? And I'll show you these in a little more detail. Studio Live. So if you go to studiolivetoday.com/gear, can't get to my own website. Here is my gear guide, and if we go into the headphones that I recommend, down to the headphones section, there they are. So the two headphones I recommend are the Sennheiser HD 280 Pro, and then the Sennheiser HD 650. Now the 650s, I don't own a pair right now because they're crazy super expensive. So I don't actually have them in my life at the moment. I've worn them, I've used them, I like them, but I can't justify them because I can't justify the price tag, and you'll see why in just a moment. So your HD 280s are your standard closed back headphone. Closed back means if you look at these cups and if you look on your screen at the moment, they go all the way around your ear. So they close all the way around and there's no sound that gets out of the backs there. That's all completely solid. This means they're great for tracking. So for recording, if you're using a microphone, you're not going to get any bleed into your microphone, or not much anyway. But they are not as good for mixing and mastering because you're not getting exactly the representation of the sound. And open back headphones can actually be better for mixing and mastering. So if you had two pairs of headphones, you'd get closed and open. Closed for when you're recording, open back for when you're mixing or mastering. But here's the thing. 4 times the cost. And not every pair of open back headphones has to be 4 times the cost, but really nice ones like the Sennheiser 650s are very expensive. Very nice, but very expensive headphones. So yeah, I haven't actually tried, not for a very long time. I probably should, and maybe I need to save up some some Studio Live Today money and go out and grab a pair because they get lots of really good reviews. And they're out of stock at the moment. There you go. They're that popular. They're out of stock. But yeah, I'd potentially do need to do. And you know what? If I did a lot more mixing and mastering in headphones or in general, then maybe I would. But I tend to do more of this. Like my headphones are mostly used for live streaming these days, for recording, and a little bit of light mixing and mastering. But yeah, haven't done that. Joe says, love my new headphones recommended by you. So yeah, so Joe's just picked up a pair of the HD 280s. And that's the thing. The HD 280s are so good that you almost don't need to go the next step and use the open back. That being said, until you try it, you won't actually know. Gino says, I like my open back AKG 240s, but my hair gets caught in them a lot. Yeah, don't have that issue very much. And as Dean Thomas says, thanks to Apple, $400 is going to be cheap for headphones. Yeah, exactly. And you might think, I paid $400 for my AirPods Pro, but these are a very different use case. So these are very much my daily driver headphones that I use for listening, not for recording, and definitely not for music. And I don't recommend anything like Beats by Dre or Bose or the new Apple AirPod Studio, even though they're called Studio. What are they? AirPod Max, they're called. Are not really for recording. They're not made for music. They're made for music. They're not made for music production. They're made for music consumption. So the difference between a pair of studio monitors like your Sennheisers and a pair of good quality audiophile headphones is generally that one is very flat, very boring in its response because it wants to be as flat as possible. If you buy some of those higher end audiophile headphones, most of the time, they are hyping particular frequencies. And you don't want that because if you're using some Beats by Dre to mix your song, they're already going to hype your bass. So you're not going to ever know exactly where your bass is sitting, and that can be the problem. Let us continue on. And yeah, look, beats are not bad. Don't get me wrong, they're not bad, but you have to be very wary. So we've got folks saying they use Beats and like them in the chat. Yeah, absolutely. If you like them, the thing is, know your own headphones and reference your mixes on other platforms, because otherwise, if you just use a pair of Beats, you tend to find that you don't mix your bass enough. You don't have enough bass when you then take them and put them and play them on your iPhone speaker, or you play them on a car stereo, because the beats are enhancing the bass as you're listening. So that's the one thing to keep in mind. Let's move on to our next question, and this one, should we do the pop it up on the screen thing? I will, just in case you're watching and not actually listening to me, which I don't blame you for. We'll jump up here, and I'll put these. Where's my Q&A? There you go. Pop these in here, because I can pretty quickly create a banner and then show it up here. So Ed Z says, when using the iOS GB EQ plugin, is there a way to set it back to default once I change the setting? Even copying the track to a new track does not reset it. Once you use the iOS GB EQ, is there a way to set it back to default? So if I'm understanding you, and I'm possibly not, within GarageBand iOS, if you're using the EQ, you can reset it to default by double tapping each. There's only 3 of them, so if it's what I'm thinking, if what you're doing is what I think you're doing, and we'll jump over here so that I can actually give you a demo. So if we jump over here to my, oh, that's not it. That needs to go down now. So yeah, there you go. So here is my iPad running GarageBand, and if we come in here, this, I think this is this the this track that we did? Let's turn that up. Don't you think just 'cause other people... Yeah, there you go. So, excuse me. If we came in here and we went to our mixer and went plugins and EQ, we don't have the EQ on here at the moment, but let's just say we've done a bunch of weird EQ moves here, and we've dropped it down there, and then we've peaked it there, and then we've dropped it down there, and then we're like, oh, I don't want that there. Well, yeah, as you're saying there, you could just create a new track and then move that audio to a new track. So say you wanted this audio completely clean, you could either remove all of this stuff, so remove all of the different plugins that you'd have there by just Xing them out, but of course the visual EQ won't go away. You could turn it off, so you could just turn it off by tapping on there, or if you want to reset it, you can just double tap each one of these and they'll all go back to 0. So double tap, double tap, double tap, and each one of these goes back to 0. It zeroes out. And even you gain there, double tap, and it goes to 0. I don't know if that's exactly what you're asking, Ed, but that's my advice for anything. Most things in the audio world, if you want to get them back to unity gain, double tap will do it. So if we take this track here, double tap, it puts them all back to that unity gain of 0 dB. And then if you want to move them back around, you can do that. Double tap again, they go back to there. And it's the same with most of your plugins and things as well. I don't know if Nembrini does it. Yeah, look, even Nembrini. You double tap and it goes back to its default settings. So anytime you're in something and you want to reset it or take it back to default, double tap, and it will go back to its regular original setting. If that's not what you're asking, Ed, yeah, maybe re-ask it. If I've completely missed the point of your question, feel free to ask it again. There you go. So yeah, Ed says, nice. I did not know the double tap trick worked on that stuff. Yeah, double tap for the win. It works pretty much everywhere. So yeah, just to go in, double tap. You don't have to do that fiddly little, oh, is it 0? Oh no, it's 1. Oh no, it's -1. It's a pain in the butt. All right, let's go to our next question. We'll remove Ed's question in the nicest way. Next up, that's the same question. It's come through twice. That's all right. We'll delete it because we've already answered it. Guzzo, hello to you. So this is Guzzo's of Oz. And we will drop your question in here in just 1 second, like so. Boom. Whoop, I've pasted it in twice. How about just one? Alrighty. Guzzo says, I have an app that creates a background tune, but I don't know the tempo. Is there a way to match it in GB? This is one I'm going to throw out here to the general crowd because I don't know if I used to have some apps on PC that were beat detector apps that would actually work out the exact tempo of a tune, and then you could set your GarageBand accordingly. I haven't actually come across this in iOS. So let's do some quick live checking of the App Store, shall we? Because maybe there is something that is a tempo detector or a beat detector app, and maybe we can try it live. This will be super experimental. Let's throw up my App Store here. And while I'm doing this, if anyone does have any ideas and uses an app, then let me know. I know that you could bring it into You could bring it into Cubasis and then it would stretch to fit whatever tempo it was at, but that's not what you want. You want to be able to set your project to the actual tempo of a loop or of a background tune. So what have we got? We've got beat detect, which is auto detect the tempo of any beat and keep the beat with built-in metronome. So that looks pretty cool. We've got metronome, which it looks like I've had before. We've got live beat detection there from Tempe, like a reverse metronome. That one probably looks pretty much what we want, doesn't it? And this one seems to be free. So why don't we try it? Let's just give it a crack, shall we? This is always fun. Confirm with the button. Boom. All right. Just looking at my face, it says your face is okay. We'll let you download this app. And then it'll start downloading. Loading. All right. Let's open it. Let's see what it does. Record to begin. All right, so we have to record using tempo by yourself with a band, both audio tempo recorded while you play. Okay, so it doesn't look like it has the ability to import a song. Is that right? So we've got the tempo there. We can record. Would like to access the microphone. Well, it's not going to be able to because it's plugged in through my thing. So that's not ideal because that's not telling us that that's of a recording. And you could play it on your phone and do that, but I don't think that's what we're looking for. SM Borthwick says, I just downloaded Tempe. That would do it, currently free. Tempe, is that what I'm using here? Is that what I was trying just then? I don't even know what I was using. Back to the App Store. So Tempe, yeah, so that's what I was doing. So that'll work if you're playing it, but it doesn't look like so there's beat detect and key detect. These definitely on beat detective. New timer microphone. Let's try this one, shall we? It does have a in-app purchases. So I think the short answer is that there are apps that can do this. It'd just be a matter of finding one that's going to work / be free or low cost to do this. Let's come in here. Beat Detective. We'll wait for that to download and see what it does. All right, we'll open it up. Oh, it's a sideways app. All right. Oh, yeah, okay. Why does it need Game Center? Okay, so if we go, unlock, see, I don't know. I don't like, it's clearly clearly it's an iPhone app and it looks pretty old and yeah, it doesn't look like, nothing just is simple, is it? Nothing is easy. We might just have to pause on that and say, yeah, it looks like you can, but I don't really know which one is going to work for you. So that Tempe one seemed to be okay if you could just play it in the background, but you really want one where you import a beat and then it tells you what it is. And I think probably that the $5 one there, the beat detect, is probably going to be your best bet. Yeah, so $4.49, which usually means it's $2.99 US because we pay more because Australia. And it looks like there's a key detect app as well. So that may be worthwhile doing if you're doing a bunch of that stuff. We'll see how we go with time, and maybe I'll just come back and buy that at the end and give it a try because yeah, it looks like it's going to be the best thing. Sorry, we can't instantly answer that, but I think the short answer is going to be yes, you can, Guzzo, but it might require a little bit more tweaking to work out exactly which app you would want to go with. Yeah, and SM Borthwick says, yeah, you just have to play it with your phone, but it does a good job. Yeah, and I guess Music Memos would do the same job. That's a good point. But Music Memos, does it tell you the tempo or does it just say it's this? I don't know. Alrighty, let's move on to our next question. And once again, if you do have your own questions, please drop them in the form that we have linked right here. And we will answer those. Jimbo has a question. So we'll throw Jimbo's question here on the screen so that everyone can see it and that I can read it too. So Jimbo says, redundant question, sorry. I need to do a refresher on connecting a keyboard to GB with iPad Gen 8. Why? So I can play chords with horn section and make choirs, etc. I need a refresher on connecting a keyboard to GarageBand with iPad Gen 8. Yeah. So MIDI keyboard, absolutely. So the good thing about a MIDI keyboard is that most of them these days, the USB keyboards, are going to be pretty generic, and I don't have one within arm's reach. Otherwise, I would do it. So I'll bring up my the browser here and show you one over here. So if we go back over to our browser, so connecting a MIDI keyboard is pretty straightforward. You will need a couple of things. And if we go back to my gear guide, these are the things you'll need. If you're using you're using the Gen 8. The Gen 8? Yeah, so you'll need a lightning to USB adapter. Say it with me, folks. The Apple Lightning to USB 3 adapter is what you need. Now, yes, it's $39, but it works and it's reliable and it can charge your device at the same time. So this is what it is. It has a USB port and a Lightning port at the bottom there, which means you plug your Midi keyboard, just the USB cable that came with your Midi keyboard, directly into there. You can then plug a standard Lightning charge cable into there and charge up. And then this end goes into your iPad Gen 8. And then if you've got any compatible USB MIDI keyboard, that plugs straight in via its USB port. So the one that I use and recommend at the moment, if we come down here to MIDI keyboard, is this one, the M Audio Keystation 49 Mark III. So if we look at the back of this one here, yep, there it is. So this just has a standard USB B to A connection. So you get the cable that comes, does it come with it? I'm pretty sure it comes with a cable. You get the cable that comes with it, you plug that end in and the other end in, and then you're away. So it's really only those two things you need. Now, the other thing I recommend, especially if you want to start, if you want to monitor your audio and start using, I mean, you do have a headphone jack on the Gen 8 iPhone, which is very nice. But if you wanted to use an audio interface or a USB microphone as well, is to get a powered USB hub. So I recommend this one here, the 10DAC powered USB hub. This just means that instead of just having one device, you plug this into your iPad and then you get 4 different USB ports all powered up, all ready to go. So you can therefore run your Steinberg UR22C or a Samson Meteor USB microphone, a mouse and a keyboard, USB flash drives, whatever you want. You can stock up and have that ready to go. So altogether, you'd be spending $20 there. You'd be spending $40 for the cable there and $100 for a keyboard. So for $160, you can get yourself set up and ready to go. Of course, you can cheap out on some of those things and buy a smaller keyboard and other things to actually reduce the cost. But the one thing I don't want you to reduce the cost of is this. Because as I've said many, many times, and the folks who are here every week are sick of me saying this, but I'll keep saying it because it keeps being true, the non-genuine Apple Lightning to USB adapters will work sometimes a bit. And your mileage is going to vary, and when Apple update to iOS 15, then it's likely that a lot of those are going to get bricked, just like they do every time something gets updated. The genuine Apple one, it has a chip in there, it's made for iPod compliant, and it will just work and work forever. I've had mine for like 3-4 years, and it still works as well as it did the day I got it. So that's my quick overview of that, and there are a heap of videos. If you search my name, Pete Johns MIDI keyboard, there's about 4 different videos where I show different levels of depth of the actual hookup process, set up some troubleshooting options as well. So hopefully that helps you out. There you go. So Bubba says that Live BEPM is the best beat tempo detector that I've used. Let's have a look. Let's see if that's here. We'll return. I like it when we can try and solve a problem here. Live BPM. We'll see. All right, so that's $5.99. So that is also a paid app. So it sounds like Audio Stretch. Oops, that's the wrong thing. We'll bring this up here. So there it is. Not the heart rate monitor one, which apparently I've used before and played around with. That was weird. That's a weird app actually. Completely different aside. But yeah, this one here. So $5.99 for that one, Live BPM. And it looks like that one does have the ability to import songs into, and then it gives you a BPM over time too. Because that's the other thing. Sometimes the BPMs, I was listening to, if you've ever seen those things, who does it? Wired magazine do a thing where they do autofill answers with famous people, and they did a Paul McCartney one. And he said, why are the Beatles, do the Beatles use a metronome or a click track? And Paul was like, we didn't have click tracks back then. I didn't do the Liverpool accent. We didn't have click tracks back then. But if we did, we probably wouldn't use them anyway, because Ringo was pretty good. He was pretty solid. But if the drummer just speeds up, you just speed up a bit. And some songs, like Led Zeppelin, a lot of other bands famously would vary their tempos throughout the song. As they're getting into an energetic sort of final chorus, the tempo goes up by 5 or 10 BPM. Terrible for people that want to remix their songs because you can never quite get a handle on where they're at. But yeah, that's where it is. Love how I change course with each question. Yeah, I love the serendipity of these questions. They just go, I love going off on tangents and just finding new things and doing that. There's a new audio kit BPM app. There you go. So we've got there. Oh, it's a metronome. It's only a metronome. Okay. So yeah, there's different options there, but we'll try. Maybe we'll try one. So now I think that I need to go with live BPM. And the reason I like things like this is when you see that the developer is one dude, then I always like that as well. And was it? Yeah, it's got 5-star reviews. What's new? So it's only updated 3 years ago, but for iOS 11. But I guess you don't need to update stuff when it's something like that. Oh, and he's also got a frequency spectrum analyzer. There you go. Visualizing sound in motion. That looks like fun as well. Can I buy them both? Is there a pack? I'm getting sidetracked. Let's move on and we'll answer more questions. And if we have time at the end, we will do that. Oh, there you go. I use beatsperminute.com to determine tempo. So I did wonder that if there is an actual website where you can just upload a track and it then tells you. That's a good suggestion, Gary. You're more than just a pretty face, mate. Some would say not even. You're more than just a pretty. So let's go to that one. Beats per minute online, and he's even got around the fact that he's not allowed to leave a link because he's a naughty boy. No, I can't type this. Beats per minute online.com. Is that what we're looking for? That didn't work. Oh, yes, it did. Okay. All right. So this, yeah, again, so you can tap in your BPM. So you can tap along using something like this. So this looks like you've got a sort of tap to tempo thing. But again, I wonder if there's something like this where you can actually upload a song. Let's move on and find our next question. And then if we have time to play more at the end, we will. Alrighty. Okay, let's jump into our next question. And this is from Joe Glenn. And she has this question, which is, just bought the app Audio Share on my phone, but how do I move it to GarageBand? So, Audio Share, the app, it's more of a companion app to GarageBand. So let's jump over and I'll show you sort of how I use it, Joe. And it's not actually something you can use from within GarageBand. It's something that helps you with your GarageBand stuff, if that makes any sense at all. So here I am in GarageBand, and if I go back into that project we were just working on, it's not AUV3 compatible. So AUM is the other app made by the folks that make Audio Share, which you can use within your apps, but it's not actually AUV3, so it won't actually work within here. But what I use Audio Share for, and why Audio Share is so good, is it actually helps you manage your audio files. So you can store GarageBand projects in there, but what I tend to store in there is video and audio files. So if we come here and we go to my Audio Share, there it is. So I've showed this before, but when I was playing around and I was doing the mastering show the other day, I was exporting all of my masters to here just so that I can have them all in one place. Now, this is a bit of a mess at the moment because I haven't tidied it up for a while, but this is the beautiful part of Audio Share is you can set up different folders. So here I've got an audio archive folder. So I've got things going way back to like old mixes of my song Perfect there. A whole bunch of other things in there, and you can see here we've got WAV files. You can even put zip files in here, and if you tap on them, it's going to say, do you want to unzip them? So that's super handy to have in there. And I even put my video files in here. So you see I've got a video import section here. So here you go. Here's I use my iPhone mostly, but here's home studio Q&A, one of my happy hours that I did there. So they're all in there. And whilst it's not the whole video, you can also edit the audio in there. And I just kind of use it as a storage place. And the other good thing is if you go to your Files app over here, it's actually another file storage location here. So you can actually just move things directly into, what have I done there? Done. You can actually move things directly into Audio Share because it will line up and it will have the same files here. Why is that not going there? Oh, because I'm already in there. Oh, no, my files has crashed. My files has completely crashed. It's always a good sign when that happens live. There you go. So Audio Share files, it goes straight in and they're all shared there. So the reason that I like it is, and where its use case comes in, is if you say you've finished a song in GarageBand, this is where Audio Share comes into its own. So we tap it here, we go share and share our song. Now, instead of just saving it somewhere random, knowing that I'm going to want to do something in Audio Share afterwards, I'm going to actually hit open in, and then it's going to export the song, and I'm going to open it directly into Audio Share. And then if I need to do any trimming, so if I need to trim the start or the end, if I need to normalize the volume, if I need to fade it in and out, if I need to convert it from a WAV file to an M4A, or if I then want to take it from Audio Share and send it to another app like Final Touch for mastering, or to LumaFusion to add to a video, because I know, Joe, that you use LumaFusion, it's just a really good intermediary place. Instead of having to go into your Files app and work out where you're going to store things and how it's going to work, if everything's just in Audio Share, then it just means that you can use it from there and you can do all the audio things you need to. We'll just wait another couple of seconds, gives me time to drink coffee while this exports, and then we'll kind of show the final step here. But yeah, it's once you get Audio Share, you're probably thinking, why did I get this and what is it good for again? But then when you start using it, you realize that it's actually useful for pretty much everything that you do. Oh, Bubba, you're a champion. Look at this. Bubba will underwrite my purchase of BPM Live. Cheers, mate. No, cheers to you. There you go. We are going to go and actually check out BPM Live up next, thanks to Bubba. So there you go. Stepping up, Bubba. I love it. So from here, instead of saving to files, which you'd usually do, just whack Audio Share. And look, it's going to pop it straight over to here. And now you've got this here, which means that, see at the end here, I've got this tail. And if I was about to master this, I wouldn't want to send it to Final Touch yet, because I'd want to come here and I want to trim it. Oh, my mouse isn't working again. Trim and fade. So I want to trim off the end here by grabbing your handle there and just dropping it there and going, yeah, around about there. So there you go. Now you know it's all perfect. You can hit save. It's going to save a trimmed version of that. And now we can use this to send it around. So we can send it directly out of Audio Share to any of our other apps. So we can go to iMovie. We can go to Voice Record. I'm going to go to Final Touch. And boom, look at that. It's dropped it straight into Final Touch, ready for us to master this track. Picture, oh yeah, let the other sheep go by. And we're good to go, yeah. So it is just a great app to have in between your other apps. And for about, $3 or $4, it's kind of a must purchase in my humble opinion, because it just does so many things. It does them really well, really simply, and I just love it. So hopefully that helps you with a wee crash course in the world of Audio Share. All right, we've got a couple more questions here, and then we will indeed. Let's leave some time to check out BPM Live so we can check it before we wreck it. Let's jump in. A question here from our friend Orchestra Eclipse has got a question, and it is this one. What's the best way to add percussion to a song without any drumming experience? What a good question. Percussion is probably one of the harder things to add to a song. The harder things to get your head around, yeah? Because especially if you don't have any percussion or drumming background, it's different to everything else, right? You're not talking melody, you're not talking harmony, you are talking rhythm, pure rhythm, and finding the right percussion to go with your song can be a challenging thing. So I say all that while I stall to go into my Garageband here and take you through a couple of options that you have. So why is this blank again? Now Garageband's having the same problem. It's saying that my folders are blank. They're clearly not, because you can see that they're not. All right, the old iPad's having a few issues. Let's close everything. If you're having issues like that, by the way, close all your apps like I just did then, reopen them, or turn your device off and on. They're the two ways that you're going to fix it. So look at that, fix straight away. So we'll come in here, we'll create a new song, and we'll just go audio recorder to start with. So percussion, we'll turn on the monitoring actually. Let's hopefully it's going to go through my right channel. Now, are you using AirPlay or monitoring? It's not going to tell me. That's all right. So a couple of ways that we can have here. If we go back to our track view, loops are good for percussion. So if you're getting started using loops here, Apple loops is a great way to give it a crack. So if we come in here and we can actually search our Apple loops, and you can search for different terms, but if we search, say, percussion and do that, do we have this filtered? Yeah, we've filtered just one sound pack, electronic drummers. So let's go all sound packs. And back here, so there, we've got a bunch of different percussion. So we can go like, wow, celestial percussion. But there you go, there's some percussion. You got a bunch of different options here. Let's go something like, let's go the high heat percussion. So all you need to do is grab it and drag it in, and then you've got a Is it just me, or does that sound completely off the beat? I don't like the sound of that at all. I'm going to delete it. Why won't it delete? Delete. Go away. But that's one way to do it. The other way is, of course, to use drummer. Now, I love the virtual drummer that we have here in GarageBand. I think it's super, super cool. And not only do you have your acoustic and your electronic drummers, but you've got percussion virtual drummers. So you can come in here and choose either Isabella, Quincy, or Finn, depending what type you want. Let's go Quincy. And again, you can dial in what you want here. You can choose which percussion instruments you want. You've got a bunch of different things that you can do. You know we want more cowbell. So let's have a very cowbell and conga based sound. Conga and cow. Yeah. And if we play this, we get... And if we want more cowbell, we can make it more complex. Just the right amount of cowbell, yeah? So this is what I tend to do. If you're starting something new and you want to build a groove around something and you don't have a lot of percussion experience, come in here and try the auto drummer and just play around with the presets and play around with different things, and you'll get a whole bunch of different sounds. And you can customize them. You can change up the different patterns. You can get a whole bunch of different cool tones. So I would play around with that. You can, of course, go manual. And this is probably what you're trying to avoid. But as well as drummers, you can use the drums, and you can either just play them manually by coming here into the drums. And if we go to one of the percussion kits that we have, so the coffee shop percussion, you've got like your cajon, your stomps, your claps, your shakers. So you can literally hit record and play along with this. So if I just wanted a bit of a cajon beat. So you can add in additional bits of rhythm there. And the one final thing that I find is actually pretty cool. My kids love this one, the beat sequencer. So the beat sequencer is like a grid. As you can see here, it's a sequencer, but we can actually dial in our own drum sound here. So if we go to percussion again, let's go to the taiko drums this time. Whoa! So you can see here that we can actually just dial in the different sounds, and you can actually just tap them and put whatever sound you want. So you've got the different kit pieces. You can even change those different kit pieces to something else if you want to. And you can build yourself up a very unique pattern, or roll the dice. I often like doing this if I'm just having a bit of a funk and I want to try and create something. I'll just roll the dice on a percussion track and then hit the button. There you go. That would create a cool sort of jungle beat backing for a track, right? And I know you're into your orchestral covers. Using something like this would be cool. You'd be able to dial in exactly the sort of sound you wanted. If you're doing like a Lion King cover, then you'd be able to use the beat sequencer to do that. So there you go. There's 4 different options: your loops, your drummer, your manual drums, and your beat sequencer. Good ways to add percussions to your tracks. But thank you for the question. A very, very good one. And we will go back to there. All right. So very, very good stuff. Yeah. Gary Hub says my kids love this too. Roll the dice, get plenty of pretty pattern of illuminated tiles. One of my daughters just lines them all up. And I'm like, that can't possibly work. And she's like, yeah, Will, it's fine. And it just creates this really intense sound. And she did a rock song doing that, and it actually sounded really cool. More cowbells. There you go. Sorry, drummers. I love you. Don't touch my beers ever again. Yeah, especially Anders. That Anders, he loves stealing beers. It's his number one thing to do. Kyle, more respectful, a little bit low key. But Anders, mate, when he gets on the beers, he's an absolute mess. All right, we've got one final question here, and it is from Mark. So we will throw Mark's question up here. Our friend Mark, who's been around the channel for a very long time, very good supporter of the channel too. So thank you, Mark, for everything that you do. And Mark says, do you or anybody in the chat have installed the free Contact Start on GB for Mac? If so, does it work? Well, so Contact, is it Contact or Contact? There's, I've never used it. My buddy Mike over at Creative Source is a big Contact user, and I will be very deadly honest with you and say that I've never used it and don't even really know what it is. I think it's an instrument library type thing, a little bit like Mainstage that you have. So I think, it's Native Instruments thing, isn't it? So it is, if we come over here, assuming this is what you're talking about, Mark, the definitive sampling platform is what it tells me it is. over here. Contact 6. Definitive sampling platform, the industry standard, biggest selection of sampled instruments. Yeah, so it's like an instrument library of sampled instruments that you can actually bring in to your tracks. And I haven't used it, and I wasn't even sure that it worked. Like it's a VST plugin, isn't it? But obviously there must be an AU version as well. What I've heard from folks that use GarageBand on Mac is that the best investment for you to start with is to get MainStage. Now, again, we're going to do live research here because MainStage, AimStage. I still have the one thing I have a problem with here, and it might be my keyboard or it might be my setup here, or the monitor getting in the way of my USB signal. But occasionally, it just won't work. It won't go through. So MainStage for Apple, the AU, sound as great on stage as you do in the studio. So MainStage is designed to be a bunch of sampled plugin sounds for you to use your Mac as an instrument, basically. So you go and you perform with a keyboard, and you've got a bunch of additional instruments. But of course, you can still use them to record in GarageBand. So what is it? Download MainStage for the Mac for $46.99 is how much it costs. So I think it's $29.99 US, but $46.99 in Australia. And this is what Patrick recommends. Patrick over at the GarageBand Guide, the Garageband Guide, that if you don't want to get Logic, because Logic has all these instruments. So one of the benefits of Logic over GarageBand is it has all of these additional instruments. And I've asked Patrick, and he said, yeah, don't get MainStage if you're going to upgrade to Logic. But if you don't want to spend the, $300 to buy Logic, or $200, whatever it is, then MainStage can actually be good for you because you get all the instruments, but you don't get all the additional features. So that's a good thing. I think from the research that I've done and from watching a couple of Mike's videos, I don't watch too many because he rabbits on that bloke, I tell you what. Yeah, from what I've seen, Contact is similar in that it's a plugin that can just give you additional sampled instruments. And it's an AU. It would be AU for Mac or VST for your PC. So hopefully that helps you. So Mark says the smart system is free and includes the Contact player. So yeah, I'm not sure. I'll throw it out here too. I don't see anyone in the chat jumping in and saying they've had experience. So if anyone's watching on the replay, or probably your best bet is to go over to Create, Record, Release. I would guarantee that someone, maybe tag Mike. Tell Mike Enjo over at Create, Record, Release, tag Mike and just ask him about Contact and his experience. He might be able to direct you to some videos or answer your specific questions. Yeah, be cool. What instruments multipack do I recommend for iPad? I still haven't found a really good one, to be really honest. iSymphonic is okay. I used to like Sample Tank from IK Multimedia. That was okay. I must admit, there's not one. We basically need MainStage for iOS. I don't know why we don't have something like that. I think because it's a big download, I think it's a few gigabytes download. Back in the day, they probably thought, well, no one on an iPad is going to have enough space to have this. Well, now we do. Now I've got 512 gigabytes of space. I could have it. But yeah, I don't think... there's nothing that comes to mind. I tend to like individual instruments. So I like the Central Sax for my sax. I like the Ravenscroft 275 for piano. I like the Hillman if I want a bit of an analog synth sound from who are they? Clevgrunt. So yeah, O'Neill and Jones says they quite enjoy. Yeah, I need to revisit Sample Tank iOS because I did really like it at first. I never upgraded to the other sounds, and now that actually IK Multimedia did reach out to me when I did the Mixbox demo because they gave me a copy of Mixbox, and they did say if there's anything else you want to check out, let us know. So maybe that's something I need to do. Maybe I need to reach out to IK and say, can they give me the unlocked version of Sample Tank and have a play with it? Because I know a lot of folks are looking for more instruments for their iOS recording. And there you go. Gino is a fan of iSymphonic, which works well, but it's just it's just not as good, in my opinion. As the interface is a bit clunky for iSymphonic. What's the best iOS piano sound? I love the Ravenscroft 275. My personal opinion. There's a lot of good ones. IK Multimedia do the iGrand. There's others out there. I like the Ravenscroft. O'Neill and Jones says that we use Reaper to mix our stuff. I used to use Reaper, very good. And we're just now getting into VST instruments. Is there a way to drag those great GarageBand instruments kicking and screaming into another ecosystem? Alas, no. There really isn't, especially if you're using VST or if you're on a PC with Reaper. It just doesn't talk. So AU plugins that you use in GarageBand Mac, there's often a VST version of them, which is probably what you're using in Reaper. But no, there's no way because iOS uses AU v3, GarageBand uses its own completely native format. So short of recording the track in GarageBand and then exporting as a wave and importing it into Reaper, yeah, it doesn't work. Alas, because it would be super cool if it did. And you're on a Mac. So yeah, even so, if you're on a Mac and you're using AU plugins on Reaper, then yeah, you can then use some of the stuff. So the cross-platform AU stuff, the standardized stuff you can, but yeah. Righty. Now we've got 5 minutes left, and then Jade is actually going live. She's got to show. What does she say she's doing today? Jade is doing How to App is looking at the 4-wave synths by indie dev Pablo Lopez. And speaking of indie devs, we did promise you something, and because Bubba's paid for it, we're going to step up and do it. Now I've got to remember what was it called again, Bubba? Was it BPM Live? BPM Live? I think it was live BPM. All right, so let's download this sucker, and we'll hit the button. My finger is on the button. We're going to download live BPM beat detector. Sure, we'll pay for it. Confirm. It's really hard to click the button and look at my face. Look at my face, my face, my face. So this is for Guzzo, who asked the question about how to detect the BPM of an audio file. We'll see if this is going to cut the mustard, so to speak. So we'll open it on up. Would like to access the microphone. All right. So we've got buttons and we've got things. So I'm assuming that we can record. Beat detection is pause, power button. So it's going to detect our beat there. So we might have to play, do we? BPM ranges. Okay, so it looks like, if I'm not mistaken, this is doing similar sorts of things to what we had before. So we'd need to actually play the track elsewhere. So I'm going to need to unplug from my audio interface and hope that this... Oh, you know what? You're not seeing any of this. You're seeing that, which is good because now it's had to disconnect anyway. So we'll come back here, we'll mirror my screen, and we'll jump back over here. So what I might do is I'll do... Oh, hang on. It's coming up. There it is. We're back. So now you can see what I've been looking at. So we've got live BPM here. It looks like a pretty simple format. We've got beat detection, or we can pause it. And I don't know what this C button does, but we'll find out in a minute. So let's just grab a song and let's see how it goes with beat detection. So we're going to go to YouTube and we'll find one of my tracks, shall we? So why don't we do Imagination, which is the theme music of this show, and we'll hit play and we'll play it and see how it goes. Come on, BPM. Oop. All right, we're playing it. Might not be loud enough. It's getting it. There it goes. Letting it calculate. I should shut up while I'm doing it, shouldn't I? Yeah, so that song is at, not surprisingly, 110 BPM. So you can see there it's using some pretty exacting things, and it's going to give you a profile there. Now, I'm sure we could plug in and get a better view of that and do something a bit funkier there. And I don't know what this C... Oh, C is just to clear it. All right, so it's a pretty simple setup, but it definitely works, and it seems to have a pretty good detection engine. Let's just try one more song here. We'll play College. Just hear that gently in the background, yeah. And what this is proving is that Pete uses 110 BPM for a lot of his tracks. So yeah, I like it. I like the big clear display. I think if you were playing music loud and if you're playing along with it, it would be good. Probably doesn't quite solve the whole... I would like one that you import it in and then you can just sort of play back the audio. But yeah, this is definitely going to do the trick if you have two devices. And look, most of us have iPads and iPhones and would be able to do something like that. So thank you, Bubba. I now have some live BPM in my life. And I did like the look of the dude's other one. What was that app? It was something to do with like spectrum analyzing or something. Might have to play around with that. Apologies for those listening on the podcast. I know that was a bit visual there in some of those answers here today. But if you did listen to the podcast and you want to check out the video, jump over to studiolivetoday.com and just search for Home Studio Q&A. You'll find all 60 plus episodes right there for your watching pleasure. But that is going to do it for this episode. So if you do want to check out more, as I said, studiolivetoday.com is where you go. Thanks to all my patrons over at patreon.com/PeteJohns for all your support. And if you do want to get in touch, do jump over to the website and you'll find all the ways that you can do so. If you got some value out of this one, hit that thumbs up button on your way out and then wipe your feet and we'll all be good. And please be kind to yourselves, especially my introverted friends. we are a bit hard on ourselves sometimes, so be kind to yourself, be kind to others. Keep rocking, and I'll see you really soon. Oh, happy hour in 3 hours' time. I'll see you there if you're here live. Otherwise, I'll catch you real soon. See you, folks. Bye now.